My name is Kathy Pfeiffer, and it's Story Time with Kathy. Today, I'm going to read to you the first section of my short story, A Diplomat's Daughter. It's an intriguing thriller taking place in Cincinnati and in Brussels, and all kinds of unexpected things will happen to our heroine. I'll be reading the first section today. I'll probably have it covered in 3 installments. So let's get started. Alrighty. It was actually published in June of 2009 on emusine.com, an online literary magazine. So here we go. A Diplomat's Daughter. I stood alone in the dark alley on Eichstrasse in the heart of Brussels, hesitating before turning the corner and setting circumstances in motion that would change my life and the lives of others forever. I felt the hard cobblestone beneath my feet and the cool air piercing my lungs as I lingered. I had come this far, I had to take the final step. Just keep walking, I told myself. You will live through this. A simple statue of a young boy marked this spot where a lost loved one was found many years ago. Now it would be the site where I would find answers to secrets of my past and be reunited with a lost love of my own. It had been just over a week since an unassuming phone call from my mother sparked a chain of events blasting me from the barrel of my sheltered existence. I've been cleaning out the attic and I found some old letters, I thought, and diaries of yours, and I was wondering if you wanted them, she had asked. Some of them are from our years in Brussels. I'll put them in a box and bring them to you if you'd like. Sure, I said, as the vague memory of an intriguing small notebook came into mind. My sister and I were 11 and 12 years old, respectively, when we formed a neighborhood club with the only 2 other American girls in our neighborhood. We used small notebooks to record our daily adventures, exploring old streets and sneaking into mysterious churches. What a delight it would be to read them now, almost 40 years later. The box arrived amid old blankets and lamps for which my mother was finding alternative homes. True, there were diaries, but they were from my later teenage years, a dull read by anyone's standards. As I hunted further, I found letters saved by dutiful grandmothers, but no notebook. Then I noticed a pile of old letters wrapped in an old rubber band. The thunderous sound of my heartbeat was all I could hear as I read the name on the return address. Jim Majors, it said, followed by 4410 Avenue des Franciscains, Brussels, Belgium. I sat down and took a deep breath and began reading a letter. Sentences rambled as he described the antics of some of his fellow 14-year-old classmates, ending with, I can't wait to see you in Washington after Christmas. I hope we are going to the same school. I love you, Jim. Okay, I thought to myself, he was just a goofy kid. Calm down. But I couldn't calm down, as feelings and memories long suppressed burst into my consciousness with unrelenting force. I remembered the excitement I felt as we held hands at my first school dance. He was the first boy I kissed, the first boy I made out with, and the first love that ended abruptly. It was 1970, and he was 14 and I was 13 when we became an item. We were attending the American school in Brussels, which was primarily established for the children of American government workers stationed there. After we were introduced at an embassy picnic, Jim began passing me notes at school, and shortly after that, he asked me to go steady. It was the beginning of a year with promise like no other, ending tragically with an event like no other, that would tear me apart from this precious time. Jim was the youngest of 3 brothers, meaning we went to high school events that I would otherwise not have attended, which only served to magnify my heightened adolescent emotions. I remember riding home from school on the bus with his brothers and their friends as they chanted, "All we are saying is give peace a chance." and feeling exhilarated to be witnessing this politically charged group. Jim was funny and charming as he blew the trumpet during football games while leading the crowd to yell, "Charge!" He wore a beret on top of a head of thick curly brown hair and had surprisingly steady eyes and a firm grasp when he held my hand. I also remember the deep sadness I felt as I stood in the cold night air, wrapped in his arms, as we said goodbyes on my final night in Brussels. "Oh, there you are," my husband said as he opened the back door. I jumped. "Oh my goodness, George, I didn't hear you drive up." I felt my face heat up as I scrambled to hide the letters. "What have you got there?" he asked as he peered into my lap. "Oh, these are just some old letters Mother brought by," I said shakily. "I was hoping to find an old notebook from that neighborhood club we had in Brussels, but it's not here. I'm done now, though. Dinner's almost ready." George's mouth smacked loudly as he chewed the baked chicken. I shuddered as his knife squeaked against the plate. "We're having peas tonight?" he asked. "Oh, I must have opened the frozen peas instead of the corn. We always have corn with baked chicken, not peas," I thought. George looked so harmless, sitting there eating silently, but I feared telling him about the letters from Jim. He was an even-tempered, tall man with rounded edges. This included his head that he shaved religiously to disguise his thinning hair. His only striking features were his eyes. He had thick brown eyebrows with intense large eyes surrounded by deep wrinkles. Sometimes I think his eyes alone were what won me over. We met at the student lounge at the University of Cincinnati in 1977, when he brought to my attention a trail of toilet paper stuck to my shoe. It was not one of my prouder moments, of course, but it was successful in initiating an unpretentious conversation that immediately put us at ease with each other. George earned a degree in computer sciences, and I completed my accounting degree. We married and settled in an older house on the outskirts of Cincinnati. 26 years later, we had created a calm, predictable life for ourselves. No children, no career changes, no moves. That night, George lay quietly in the twin bed beside mine, while I struggled to shut my eyes and keep my mind from racing. Where was Jim now? Why did he stop writing to me? What would my life have been like if I had married him? My heart started to pound as even larger questions emerged. Why were we even living in Brussels? What exactly did my father do for a living? And how did he really die? My nerves were tingling as I said goodbye to George in the morning. We decided early in the marriage to take on traditional roles, allowing me to work part-time and manage the household duties. Today I put housework aside as I sat at the computer, frantically trying to locate a website for the school in Brussels. Surely there must be some kind of alumni group, I thought, and perhaps a chance to find Jim. I was right. The homepage for the school had a website address listed for alumni information. My hands were trembling as I clicked the mouse and the web page appeared. There were comments dating back to 1996 from previous students, including references to people I had known. It was like finding a previous life. It didn't seem real. I decided to leave a message. I wrote, trying to locate classmates from 1970, such as Jim Majors. My name was Linda McConnell at the time. Anyone out there? As the days passed, I checked obsessively for a reply to my message. Nothing. I was frantic and distressed when, 3 days later, I finally got a response. Using multiple exclamation marks, Linda Mohan said she remembered me and would I like to chat. I vaguely remembered a quiet girl, perhaps of Middle Eastern descent, named Brenda. It was not the response I was hoping for, but it was still exciting to be in touch with someone from that time long ago. We exchanged email addresses, and began catching up immediately. Living in Brussels was the best time of my life, she wrote. I got my teaching degree in the States, and I'm actually teaching at our school and living in Brussels right now. Wow, I thought. Quiet little Brenda really made something of herself. I was envious. I've been in touch with some people, and I'm planning a reunion at the school next week. I'm so happy to hear from you, she said. Do you think you can come? Do you know anyone else who is coming? I asked anxiously. I have a tentative list of about 30 people. At the reunion last year, 50 people showed up, including your friend Jim. We had the best time. Nervously, I watched George that evening, dutifully eating the pork chop dinner I had every Thursday. I'm thinking of going to Brussels next week, I finally blurted out as I looked down at my plate. Really? Wow. Well, I'll see if I can get some time off, but that's kind of short notice for a vacation, isn't it? He queried. And that's where I'll stop for this time. We'll see what happens to Linda as she pursues the answers to what happened to Jim, to what happened to her father. I guarantee you'll be surprised and it will be exciting. So I'll talk to you next time on Storytime with Kathy. Bye.